All right, so to start things off, of course, we have the desk. This is the base component of any setup, whether it's gaming, office, whatever you want. You always got to have a nice desk, and for that, we're using this desk right here. This is a Linman desk from IKEA. I believe this is a 47-inch desk, 24 inches wide. This is obviously in the gray color here. I think it'll look really nice with the components we're going to be using for today's build. It's got white sides, and then to match that, we also have 4 separate white legs right there. Turn the desk around here. You can see in the corner of the desk, there's 5 little holes. These are pre-drilled holes in all 4 corners of the desk, which we will screw the legs into. You can see at the bottom of the legs, they have these little mounting brackets here. There are screws that are included with these legs when you purchase them, and we will just screw them into the desk. Try to make them as straight as possible with the sides of the desk because these are rectangle legs, so you want to make it look good. And we're going to go ahead and do that off camera real quick. We'll get these legs installed, and then I'll show you guys what it looks like when it's all assembled and put together. So let me go do that real quick, and I'll be right back. All right, guys, here is the desk fully assembled. You can see we got the legs installed with the 5 screws on the bottom of each of them. And now we got the desk pushed up against the wall, which is where it will eventually be. Not too much to be said about the desk. It is literally just a desk, but this nice gray color should look really good with the monitors and the keyboard and mouse combo that we're going to be using with today's build, as well as the microphone we're going to be using as well. So I think that's enough said about the desk. Let's go ahead and move on to the monitor arm, which just magically appeared out of thin air. This is a pretty standard, pretty cheap monitor mounting arm. You can see we got the clamp here at the bottom. This is just a C clamp that will clamp onto the back of the desk right in the middle. And then up on the top end here, we've got 2 VESA mounting plates, which will connect to the back of the monitors, and this will hold it up, kind of giving it a nice floating design with 1 pole that goes down the back. This is just a nice alternative to the standard little mounting legs that come with monitors. I think those look pretty trashy when you're doing a dual monitor build or even a triple. So I like to use these instead because it just has this 1 pole instead of having 2 sets of legs that take up way too much desk space. So I'm going to go ahead and install this here. Basically, like I said, this C-clamp here will just clamp on to this part of the desk, kind of like that. We'll mount it right in the back. We're going to use a measuring tape here in just a second, and you know what, I'll just show you. We're going to take a measuring tape, just like that. Because this is a 47-inch desk, we want to find 23.5, which is right here, and this will be the center point of the desk, and we want to mount that monitor arm right at that point at 23.5 inches. That way it's sitting right dead center in the middle of the desk. That will just give the desk a nice perfectly symmetrical look, at least from the monitor standpoint, I guess. So we're looking for something kind of like this here. You can see the middle of this base plate on the arm is right at 23.5 inches, so it's right in the center of the desk. And now we have the VESA mounting plates here, which we will connect to the back of the monitors here in just a second. Here's a quick look at that clamp I was talking about. You can see it just screws up to the bottom of the desk. And then when you go up top, there's the other half of the clamp, and that'll keep it in place. It'll keep the monitors from rocking around while you're using your desk. So that's enough about the monitor arm. It's a pretty simple concept here, and you'll see more about how this is going to be used in just a second here. So let's go ahead and show you guys the monitors we're going to be using for today's build, and we can get these things hung up on this arm. All right, so here are the 2 monitors we're going to be using for today's build. Brand is AOC. There is the model number right there in case you guys want it. These are 1080p, 144 Hz, 1 millisecond response time monitors, and they are curved. I don't know how well you guys can see that, but they are curved. So that means once we get these both hung up, they're gonna have a nice curve around where you're sitting in front of the desk, and it's gonna look super cool, and more importantly, it's gonna function great. It's gonna look awesome when you're playing games. These monitors are excellent for the price. So obviously when you have a monitor like this and you want to install a VESA mounting bracket, It's kind of hard to do that when you have this big giant stand in the way. So to remove this, it's pretty simple. There's a button right here. I hope you guys can see that. There's a little button here, so all we want to do is just press this down while we pull up on the back of the stand, kind of like this. So again, push down the button and then just pull up on the back and slide it towards the bottom of the monitor. And you can see these clips here are kind of what hold it in place, so you do have to pull it backwards a little bit. But once you do that, you have immediate access to the VESA mounting screws on the back of the monitor. So now we can go ahead and install our VESA mounting brackets for the mounting arm. So to install this little bracket here, the first thing we need to do is remove these VESA mounting screws that are pre-installed in the back of the monitor using a Phillips head screwdriver. All right, that was pretty easy, just got 4 screws there. So now we can go ahead and install this little mounting plate here. So if you actually look at this from the side, there's really only one way that this can be installed, and that is with the flat side being installed against the monitor. So you can see here, it does have this little clip like tab thing on the front side, as well as these other little tabs that stick out. Obviously, if you tried to mount this against the monitor in this orientation, it wouldn't be able to screw in, so it can only really be installed in one direction. One other important thing to note is this bigger tab at the top here with the hole in it. This needs to be installed at the top of the monitor. So you can see here, this is the tab. This is the AOC logo at the top of the monitor. You want to make sure that these are lined up somewhat like this here. Once you set that on there, you can just take those 4 screws that you removed and just reinstall them to hold the bracket into place. And then once we do that, we can go ahead and hang both of the monitors up onto the monitor mounting arm. Starting to look pretty good, but it's not perfect. There's quite a few different places back here that we can adjust to change the angle of the monitors. And if you guys can't tell, they're not dead in the center yet, so I've still got some more adjusting to do with these, which I'll do off camera. You can also see this really disgusting looking line between the 2 monitors here, which we need to fix as well. We'll take care of that in just a second. But yeah, I think it's starting to look pretty darn good, if I do say so myself. Now I want to go behind the monitors here and install some LED strip lights on the back of these. And we will also fix this horrible looking gap between the 2 monitors. So let's go ahead and do that real quick. All right, so first up, we're gonna fix this little crack between the 2 monitors here. It's gonna be pretty much impossible to get that crack to disappear just by adjusting the monitors. So we're gonna have to put some tape on the back of that to help block out the light. We're gonna use some black electrical tape. We're just gonna take a strip of it like this and place it between the 2 monitors just like that. And just press it on so it sticks. You can see I cut this strip a little bit too long, so you could just take some scissors and cut off the excess. Doesn't have to be too precise. And then after we do that, we're pretty much good to go. Now we can install the LED strips along the back and you won't see it shining through the 2 monitors in the middle. So for the LED strips, we are using these Monster RGB LED strips I got from Walmart. You can see I've already got them installed. I have used these strips before and they are pretty good for the price. I will say the adhesive is pretty terrible, and actually most of it fell off when I was installing them, so I had to use quite a bit of tape. But for me, that's not that big of a deal because I usually use tape anyways to install these. Just make sure when you do install LED strips, you use clear packing tape, something kind of like this. Otherwise, if you use like electrical tape, you will block out some of the LEDs and it'll make a weird pattern off the back of your wall. So just make sure you use clear tape when you're taping LED strips onto anything. You guys can see the pattern we're going with here. It's just a simple wrap it around the top, go around the side, around the bottom, and then up the other side. So it kind of gets a nice outline of both of the monitors, and that's pretty much it. We will then run the USB cable along these cable management clips on the monitor mounting arm, and then we'll plug it in, and they'll be nice and pretty off of the back wall. It's kind of hard to explain, but once we get this all put together, you'll kind of see more of what I'm talking about. So I think that's enough working behind the monitors here. I'm now going to show you guys the keyboard, the mouse, and all the rest of that fun stuff back up front. All right, for the keyboard, we're using this Logitech G915 TKL. I've got the GL linear switches in mine. This obviously has the RGB lighting that you can do with the Logitech application. Not too much to say about this. It is a very, very expensive but also very nice keyboard. Been using this one for about a year now. Don't know how well you guys can hear that, but it has a very nice, satisfying click to it. The main reason I picked this keyboard for today's build is because it is wireless, and I think it will match the setup perfectly because I want to go with a pretty seamless look for today's build. So I think this keyboard will be great for that, and I also just happen to love this keyboard. So I figured, hey, I might as well use it in another build instead of it sitting in a box in my closet. Sticking with the wireless theme, we've got the Logitech G502 wireless gaming mouse. This thing has been an absolutely amazing mouse while I've owned it. I bought this around the same time I bought the G915 keyboard, which is about a year ago, and I absolutely love this thing. As you would expect for a mouse of this price, it feels very nice in the hand. It's just all around, it's a great mouse. It could have better build quality. The plastics do feel kind of cheap. One of my favorite features of this mouse is actually the adjustable weights. So you can take this little plate out, and there are weights in the bottom of it here. And the weights just give it a bit of resistance when you're moving it around on your desk, on your mouse pad. So I don't know, I think that's pretty cool that they have that feature. I have mine on the heaviest weight setting, which is 8 grams of weight, and I think it feels pretty good. All right, here we go. We got the G915 TKL and the G502 gaming mouse and keyboard set up on the desktop. Now, obviously, I recommend using a mouse mat underneath your mouse. However, I don't have one on hand that I can use in this video, so I'm not going to include one. However, like I said, you should use one, and I will leave a link in the description down below for one that I like personally. I just don't have one here right now to use. Alright, so like we said, the setup is looking amazing up top. It's nice and clean. There's no wires, no cables, any of that stuff is visible. So that is awesome. The last thing we need to show you guys for today's build is, of course, the PC. So this is my old $650 gaming PC. I will admit it is a little bit outdated. This is running a first generation Ryzen 5 processor, GTX 1060 6GB GPU. So I mean, it's not the most current, up-to-date kind of internals that you could ask for in a PC, but considering this PC is quite a few years old now, it actually holds up pretty darn well. I still play most games at 1080p. At least 60 FPS in most games. So it's been a great PC ever since I built this thing. Absolutely love this thing to death. Now, obviously, we don't have any room on the desktop to actually put the PC up there. I'm not a huge fan of doing that either way. Even if I did have the space to do it, I probably still wouldn't. So I'm gonna put it down here in the left-hand bottom corner of the desk. That's just kind of where I like to put my PCs at. It seems to work out the best for me that way. So I'm gonna go ahead and slide this thing over there. I'm gonna get all the wiring taken care of. I gotta wire up the monitors as well. And I'll do that off camera. And once I get all of that completed, I'll get all this stuff fired up, and then I will meet you guys back here once I get all that stuff done. So I'm gonna do that real quick, and I will be right back. All right, guys, here we go. This is the final product of today's setup. You can see we've got the monitors all turned on here. Pardon the Windows activation thing. We've got the Logitech wireless mouse and keyboard on the RGB strobe patterns. Once I get my studio lights turned off here in just a minute, you'll see just how good these actually look. We've also got the RGB strip behind the monitors on as well. Those strips are not as bright as I thought they were, so it's even harder to see than the keyboard and mouse. But again, once we turn those lights off, it'll be really easy to see them. And it looks really good in the dark, which is what matters, I guess, for me. Obviously, we also have the PC down below as well, but there's nothing really cool to look at there because it doesn't have any LED lights in it. It's just a blank PC. So this is kind of what we're working with here. It looks pretty awesome. I'm pretty happy with how this all turned out. Let's go ahead and turn off my studio lights real quick, and we'll show you guys what this looks like in the dark. I've said it before, I'll say it 1,000 times again. The camera doesn't do it much justice because, I don't know, the way cameras pick up LED lights is a bit funky. So it doesn't actually look quite that obnoxiously bright behind the monitors. It looks really, really clean. It looks really nice in person. All the LEDs look great in this build. I'm really happy with how it turned out. I do need to go through and adjust these monitors and get the brightness turned down because they're a little bit too bright for me, but everything else is looking pretty amazing. If you guys enjoyed today's video and you want to see more videos and more setup builds just like this one you saw today, leave a like and subscribe. Also, if you guys have suggestions for future builds just like this one today, if you guys want to see a certain brand or a certain keyboard, mouse, RGB lighting, anything like that, feel free to leave a comment down below. I'd be happy to check out your guys' suggestions.